Standoff. We'll more or less speak to Dave Keating in Brussels. Hello to you, Dave. First of all, what are the EU issues at stake here?
Yeah, I mean, this has very much been a bilateral war of words between France and Italy, but this is a very European issue, and this is a subject that has divided EU countries intensely since the migration crisis of 2015. There is a migration pact on the books. France says Italy isn't upholding its end. Italy says France isn't upholding its end. The truth is somewhere in between. The problem is the EU hasn't been able to agree a way to reform its rules for asylum, which right now essentially puts the burden for taking care of migrants on the arrival country. The southern point of entry countries like Italy, Spain, and Greece say this isn't fair and that European countries aren't showing solidarity. They tried to have this system by which migrants would be spread out throughout the EU, and those countries who didn't want to take any would have to pay Italy and other frontline countries if they didn't want to take any migrants, but Italy says it really hasn't received the money. Now, as part of that arrangement, France was supposed to take these 3,000 migrants from Italy. Now France says, no, we're not going to do it, essentially because Italy isn't upholding its end of the bargain by obeying international law about taking in people in crisis in international waters or in territorial waters of that country. So this is something that's going to be bumped up inevitably to the EU level. Now, so far, the European Commission has stayed relatively quiet about this. They did put a statement out earlier this week saying that the migrants on the ship had to be allowed to dock somewhere, but they didn't directly blame Italy. They didn't say that the migrants had to be allowed to come ashore in Italy, but they said someone had to take them because the situation was deteriorating. It was very serious, and they reminded all countries of their international legal obligation, but did not name Italy, did not name France. Now, France has asked for an emergency summit on this subject, on migration, and also on the Italian side, the new Italian Foreign Minister, Antonio Tajani, who himself is a former European commissioner and a former president of the European Parliament. He will bring this issue up when he is here in Brussels on Monday for a meeting of foreign ministers. So this issue, though right now the real escalation is between France and Italy, it is going to very quickly become a European issue.
And Dave, what does this say about Italy's new government and what relationships it has between France or the EU, centrist governments like France? What does it say about Italy's new government?
Yeah, the timing of this is very interesting. You'd be forgiven for having deja vu right now because this isn't the first time that Italy has refused to take in migrants from a charity ship. It's not the first time that France has taken that ship instead, and it's not the first time that France has beefed up its border checks with Italy in retaliation, even finding an exemption from the Schengen Code, which manages the EU's internal borders. The difference this time is the language coming out of the French government is extremely strong. And I think that has a lot to do with the new far-right Italian government of Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. This does appear to be a kind of opening salvo for this new government. It's a way for them to signal to their population that they are going to follow through with their campaign promise to get tough on migration. And it's also a way for France and other centrist European countries to lay the line for Italy and say, past this line you will not cross and we will not allow you to drift in this rightward direction on migration. So this is a conflict that looks like it's only going to heat up. The question is, how far does Italy want to take this? And in the meantime, you could say that these 280 migrants have found themselves as pawns in a larger political game of signaling. But Italy would say that they have to take a stand here because the current system isn't working. It's putting them under tremendous strain, and they are not getting the solidarity from the rest of the EU that they were promised. Could this get things moving again at EU level? Perhaps. Meloni's government is angry at the previous government under Mario Draghi for not pushing this issue at EU level, for not, certainly the Draghi's government was not happy about the situation with migration, but this was kind of frozen as an issue for a while now. Migration is very much back on the table. The new government in Italy has signaled that it's going to put it squarely on the table, and they are going to push this, I think, quite far.
All right, Dave. Thank you very much. Dave Keating reporting from Brussels.